When I was 27 years old, I left a very demanding job in management consulting for a job that was even more demanding, teaching. I went to teach 7th graders math in the New York City public schools. And like any teachers, I made quizzes and tasks, I gave homework assignments. When the work came back, I calculated grades. What struck me was that IQ was not the only difference between my best students and my worst students. Some of my strongest performers did not have stratospheric IQ scores. Some of my smartest kids weren't doing so well. And they got me thinking, the kinds of things that you need to learn at 7th graders math, sure, they hard ratios, decimals, area of parallelogram, but these concepts are not impossible. I was firmly convinced that every one of my students could learn the material if they work hard and long enough. After several more years of teaching, I came to the conclusion that what we need in education is a much better understanding of students and learning from a motivational perspective, from a psychological perspective. And in education, the only thing that we know how to measure best is IQ. But what if doing well in school and in life depends on much more than your ability to learn quickly and easily? So I left the classroom and I went to graduate school to become a psychologist. I started studying kids and adults in all kinds of super challenging settings. And in every study, my question was, who is successful here and why? My research team and I went to West Point Military Academy, and we tried to predict which cadets would stay in military training and would drop out, and which would drop out. And we went to National Spelling Bee and tried to predict which children would advance farthest in competition. We studied rookie teachers working in really tough neighborhoods and asking which teacher would be going to be here in teaching by the end of the school year, and who will be the most effective at improving learning outcomes for their students. We partner with private companies, asking which of these salespeople will be going to keep their jobs and who's going to earn the most money. In all this very different contexts, and one characteristic emerged as a significant predictor of success. And it wasn't social intelligence, it wasn't good looks, physical health, and it wasn't IQ. It was grit. Grit is passion and perseverance for very long-term goals. Grit is having stamina. Grit is living like it's like a marathon and not a sprint. Grit is sticking with your future day in, day out, not just for the weeks, not just for the month, but for years, and working really hard for that future a reality. A few years ago, I started studying grit in the Chicago public schools. I asked thousands of the high school juniors to take grit questionnaires, and then waited more than a year to see who would graduate. Turns out the grittier kids were significantly more likely to graduate. Even when I matched them on every characteristic, I could measure that things like a family income, standardized achievement test scores, and even safe kids felt when they were at school. It's not just at West Point or at National Spelling Bee. It's also at school, especially for the kids at risk of dropping out. To me, the most shocking thing about grit is how little we know, how little science knows about building it. Every day, parents and teachers ask me, how do I build grit in kids? What do I do to teach kids a solid work ethic? And how do I keep them motivated for the long run? The honest answer is I don't know. What do I know is the talents doesn't make you greedy. Our data show very clearly that there are many talented individuals who simply do not follow through on their commitment. In fact, in our data, greed is usually unrelated or even inversely unrelated to measures talent. So far, the best idea I've heard about building greed in kids is something called growth mindset. This is an idea developed at Stanford University by Carol Dweck, and it is the belief that the ability to learn is not fixed, that it can change with your effort. Dr. Dweck has shown that when kids read and learn about the brain and how it changes and grows in response to challenge, they are much more likely to persevere their fail because they don't believe that the failure is a permanent condition. So, growth mindset is a great idea for building grit. But we need more, and that's where I'm going to end my remarks. And that's where we are. That's the work that stands before us. We need to take our strongest ideas, our best ideas, our strongest intuition, and we need to test them. We need to measure whether we've been successful, and we have to be willing to fail, to be wrong, and to start over again, will listen, learn, and in other words, we need to be greedy about getting our kids